These people are very rare. They have always been there and always will be. They live on different continents and pray to different gods. But they all have abilities that are beyond explanation. Their words are prophetic. Their undertakings sometimes contradict the laws of physics. Our project is about them, the mysterious chosen ones, the people of knowledge.
Romania, Carpathian Mountains. This is the Bran Castle. The world also knows it as the Castle of Dracula. The neighborhood is dominated by its dark and ominous silhouette.
Dracula! We are in Transylvania. Welcome to the Bran Castle. Follow me.
Its halls and corridors are tangled into a mysterious labyrinth. A well in the courtyard, according to a legend, leads to the dungeon. This passageway makes it possible to enter and exit the castle without being even noticed.
The castle is 630 years old. Its only real connection to the Prince of Wallachia, Dracula the Impaler, is the fact that he stayed here once as a prisoner, captured by Hungarian voivode Matthias Corvinus, a military commander and a king. He spent 2 or 3 weeks in one room, and every tour guide who brings tourists here has a room of his choice to show where Dracula was held captive.
Transylvania is famous for its ever-present vestiges of the Middle Ages. People here still believe in witches and dark magic.
What happens in this country doesn't have a rational explanation.
Local witches consider themselves to be descendants of the bloodthirsty Count. This link between vampires and witches does not come from nothing. In the Romanian language, vampires are called strigoi, from the Greek strix, meaning a howling owl. This nocturnal bird was always believed to be magical and demonic. According to a Roma legend, living strigoi are witches destined to turn into vampires after their death. At night, their soul can fly to a Sabbath and drink the blood of humans and cattle. And there are no advances of modern civilization that are enough to convince locals otherwise. Zachariah's son and daughter are used to by now walking with their mom only in broad daylight. It's been 4 years now since Anna stopped going out at any other time. Evening shadows make the woman see the spirit world as the souls of the dead try to lure her in. In Romania, these life-turning events are believed to be the result of witchcraft, hexes, jinxes, and curses. Anna keeps wondering whose path she has crossed and who has brought all this horror on her head. This fear lives somewhere deep inside my body. Sometimes at night, I'm even scared to go to the bathroom through the dark corridor. The world of spirits has scared the woman out of her mind, to the point where she stopped living her normal life. A month ago, she realized she cannot overcome this fear alone. Convinced that only a true witch can save her and lift this curse, Anna decided to go to the most legendary witch in this part of the world, Madame Brațara Buțe. It was so bad that I couldn't even get out of bed. I was scared of everything. And then I called Brațara. She heard me out and told me to come over. Today, it's Anna's third and last visit. The witch has promised that by the end of it, fear will finally release its hold on the woman. To get to the sorceress, Anna takes a cab. She hopes that in just 1 hour, she will become again a cheerful girl she once was. My biggest dream in this world is to stop being afraid of the darkness. I want to be able to go out with my children in the evening and stop trembling with fear at night in my own home.
Cum se întoarce fusul la mână din gură la gură să se întoarcă, Gianni, la Nina, la dragostea ei, la iubirea ei. Nu-i dau răbdare la mâncare, nici godină la culcare, să nu poate să se culce, să nu poate să mănânce. Fără Gianina, fără dragostea ei, fără iubirea ei, fără...
Madame Brațara is performing the attraction charm. She has just seen a client who wants to get back her unfaithful husband. An essential part of the ritual is 3 textile dolls that represent the husband, the wife, and the mistress. Without any compassion, the witch is sticking a needle in the man and the woman involved in the affair. Although Brațara is capable of doing anything to anyone, she never inflicts an incurable disease or death, even at her most insistent request of her clients. If you want to do something bad to a person, you just take a needle and drive it through the heart area. But I didn't stick a needle in his heart. I pierced his head, arms, and legs. It will make this man feel unwell and shake uncontrollably. His body will become hot, as if on fire, and then he will feel lust towards this woman, towards his wife that wants him back. And one more thing, I would never pierce the belly button of a woman because it's a very dangerous thing to do. As a finishing touch, Brațara ties the husband and the wife facing each other. The mistress, however, is tied to the wife back to back, so the husband won't be able to see her. The dolls are going to remain tied up the entire night. The witch will repeat this ritual 2 more times until the cheating husband returns to his family. First, the man will get shivers, and then he will start disliking his mistress. And in about 6 weeks, he will become overwhelmed by the desire to go home. Brațara gives a lifelong guarantee on this charm. I help anyone who comes to me. I can make sure any person gets married in 6 weeks. It doesn't matter who comes to me with this request. If he or she wants it, I will help. This gift Brațara inherited from her grandmothers. One of them was a white witch, addressing saints in her prayers. The other one was using dark magic and talking to the devil. One of my grandmothers was addressing dark forces, and the other one white forces. Because of that, I have the powers to perform both dark and white rituals. But strictly speaking, a true witch cannot say that she practices exclusively dark or white magic, because a true witch can do everything. Personally, I am fighting with the devil and the rest of the evil spirits. Her first fight with the Satan took place when she was a teenager and had just started to learn witchcraft. Late on Christmas Eve, Brațara went to visit her grandma. It wasn't an easy walk, 6 kilometers through snow-covered fields. No sooner had she left the village than when the devil blocked her path. He kept changing shapes, trying to scare the girl. One moment she would see a cat, another, a dog, then a horse. And every time this creature transformed, I hit it with a stick that I was holding in my left hand. This thing kept taking new shapes, and I kept saying incantations, special words to drive away evil creatures. When I finally reached my grandma's house, it was 1 past midnight. When my grandma saw me, she said right away, "You have blood oozing from your nose." And then she added, "You are very strong. Your powers allowed you to get all the way here. You have a gift." Back then, Brațara didn't understand that she had just passed the most difficult test in her life. She had been hearing spirits ever since. They help her by whispering things in her ear. Things like what problems her clients want to solve and how to help them. When I do tarot readings, the spirit I have inside me tells me everything. But he doesn't talk to me in words like humans do. He shares information with me through emotions, through ideas. Romania holds a record in the number of witches among European countries. Local papers are teeming with ads from fortune tellers, sorceresses, and healers, all of whom continue family traditions. Journalist Marian Danacnu explains the phenomenon of Romanian witchcraft by the migration of Roma people.
All these witches and spellcasters have appeared in Romania in the times of Dracula. Voivode Vlad, the Impaler, was a real historical figure. Dracula is not a fictional character. He is a real king and a military commander of Wallachia. He lived in the 15th century. It's a time when Roma people were migrating from Asia Minor to Balkans. They were practicing witchcraft and mystical rituals which have reached Wallachia and influenced the family of Vlad the Impaler.
Even the Prince Vlad Dracula used to ask help from witches prior to battles. Following his example, other people also started to get readings. So ever since old times, in the moment of despair, Romanians have been turning to magical powers for help. Some do it only once in a lifetime. Some visit the same witch again and again. The word about the best of them spreads through the grapevine and has now extended to the internet. There are so many of us in Romania, simple Romanians and gypsies who have special powers. They can heal a person or do something bad to him. For example, they can make his horse die or make him get into an accident. God left 3 powers on earth: a doctor, a priest, and a witch. When a person has some problems, he goes to a doctor or a priest, and if he cannot find help there, he comes to me with his misfortunes. Sometimes it can be the other way around. I have to look at the person who came to me and recommend him to go to a doctor or a priest. Coming to Romania, many foreigners find themselves feeling like they have traveled on a time machine to the most obscure period of the Middle Ages. The entire country is engulfed in dark and white magic. Neighbors and friends cast spells at each other. This is the center of Europe in the 21st century. Every second Romanian has at least once sought help from witches. After all, a jinx is not exactly something a general physician would treat you from. The only person capable of helping you is a sorceress. I never addressed the other witch, the one who has cursed my client. I have my own powers to solve the problem. Also, if she learns about me, we might have a conflict. I do not direct my spells at that witch, I direct them into a river. Once Borcha, a famous player of our national football team, came to me together with his wife. He had a lot of mercury in his body. Some witch put a mercury charm on him. He was constantly throwing up. Doctors didn't succeed in curing him, but I did, though. Borcha was close to dying. Witchcraft in Romania is taken very seriously. Even government officials, including presidential administration, wear clothes of purple color on Thursdays. They believe it can protect them from evil spirits. These powers resist any attempt to understand or evaluate them. They simply exist, and making fun of a witch can only get you into trouble.
I wouldn't call Romanians a naive nation. It's not like everyone believes in magic. But still, take those witches we visited yesterday. I wouldn't dare show them disrespect or say something like, "Go away, fraud," because they have certain powers. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want anything to do with these people.
Although Brațara Buțe is considered to be the strongest black witch of the country, her authority only extends to the northern part of the capital. The western part has its own magical clan, led by the young witch, Vanessa Paradise. I belong to the Western clan. How are we different from everyone else? We are more modern. We use the internet, we know our way around computers, so we have more opportunities and more power. These two witch clans have been at each other's throats for many years, stealing clients, slandering colleagues, and talking up their worth. Whatever means are deemed necessary, after all, they have to feed their huge families, same as everyone else.
There's a fierce competition between the new generation of witches and the old one. But it's more than that. Competition and conflicts can take place even inside one family, between cousins, and even between a daughter and a mother.
To perform any ritual, Brațara asks for an old-fashioned face-to-face meeting. Vanessa only needs a network connection that brings the whole world to her monitor. She casts spells using photos from social network and performs rituals by reading incantations via Skype. Such is the modern face of witchcraft, with the client sitting somewhere out there and simply waiting for results. Vanessa calls herself a celebrity witch, as famous actors, athletes, and politicians often come to her with their problems. There are a lot of VIPs among my clients, although most of them ask to keep their names secret. But I can name one of them, Patricia Kaz. And I have a message exchange with Adrian Mutu. It's difficult to tell whether this is true or not, but there's no doubt that Vanessa is far from being poor. She needs money, same as regular people, since her problems are no different from anyone else's. Failed relationships, jealous coworkers, and problems with health. The young witch's education is limited to elementary school, but reading, writing, and English is all she needs. Vanessa's daughters are still going to school. She wants them to be the first girls in the family to receive the certificate of secondary education. Nonetheless, their future has already been decided, and there's no way out of it. We have never interrupted our connection with the past, with multiple generations of witches and wizards. All our grandmothers and great-grandmothers were doing witchcraft, and both my daughters will become witches too. That's what I'm teaching them. And this is how in Romania we keep the connection to ancient times uninterrupted. While one of the girls is having lunch after school, the witch is sitting in the kitchen and browsing through the news feed in a social network. Who knows, maybe one of her clients requires urgent magical help. The power of breaking curses, the power of witchcraft, doesn't grow weaker in modern world. Yes, I talk to people via Facebook and Skype, but I still need to hold a real photo of the client in my hands. And it's the same as this person sitting next to me. In 2011, the government of Romania became concerned with the fact that there are too many witches in the country, and they charged no less than $20 per visit, with no upper limit on the price. Superstitious people are not put off by a heavy cost. Vanessa and Brațara, for example, see at least 2 to 3 clients a day. The authorities have decided that it's time to legalize this business. They suggested witches to pay a 16% tax while sending some extra money to retirement and health insurance funds. This initiative found support only from the Western clan. I'm all for legalizing our activity. It would mean that the government acknowledges our power. But witches from the Northern clan were completely outraged. They strongly object to paying taxes on their power, the nature of which no one has yet managed to explain. The witches led by Brațara Buțe have decided to retaliate, and they did it in their own way. Three years ago, a devil's dozen of Romanian witches organized a Sabbath on a riverbank, just like this one. They started a fire and danced around it, brewed a potion for the cabinet of ministers. Then, they poured the deadly strong concoction made from poisonous mandrake, cat feces, and remains of a dead dog into the river. After that, none of the parliament members had dared to support this document. The entire Romania knows that I'm a good witch, but you shouldn't mess with me. If you're gonna mess with me, you'll be sorry. To this day, Brațara doesn't pay taxes. This time she won. But 40 years ago, the law wasn't on her side. Brațara Buțe probably even gained her fame for being the first witch in Romania to be sentenced to 10 months of jail for social parasitism during the communist era. The witch, however, believes that she was prosecuted for fortune-telling and for not avoiding work. She was put in prison because her sorcery was effective at that time as well. 1977, Romania. The rule of Sisashu, the wife of a high-ranking lieutenant colonel, comes to Brațara with a desire to get back her cheating husband. The witch performs a strong charm of 9 locks. So the wife of that lieutenant colonel took these 9 locks with all the strings and knots, put it in her purse, went to the cemetery in the middle of the night, and buried it next to the grave of a person with the same name of her husband's. And in 9 days, this lieutenant colonel went to his mistress, but couldn't have fun with her as usual. The man rushed to his wife with only one question to ask. Did she go to a witch? The woman didn't give up her secret, so the officer simply spied on her. He caught us right in the middle of the ritual when I was holding the picture of the colonel in my hands. So I got arrested and sentenced to 10 months in prison, but I only served 6 months. Even in prison, Brațara continued to lift evil spells and exorcise demons. The punishment did not scare the witch. On the contrary, it made her famous. I'm well known in Romania, but also in Europe. I might even say that I'm famous around the world because I'm the most powerful witch in the universe. After getting out of prison, Brațara found out that the lieutenant colonel did not get a divorce from his wife. The couple was well and happy. It made her certain that she's doing the right thing. She had also seen her future where she becomes recognized, her opinion is reckoned with, and even the government is afraid of her. In the Middle Ages, Brațara would have had it rough. Witches were treated mercilessly, and execution by burning would have seemed an easy death. Preserved in Dracula's castle are some appliances for long and excruciating tortures.
If they suspected you of being possessed by a demon, you were subjected to the cruelest punishments. For example, they could put a woman suspected of witchcraft onto this stand and start torturing her, skinning, gouging her eyes, or pouring molten lead into her throat. They could also use another kind of torture, like this stake, and split her right in half. The poor woman would get quartered or put on a breaking wheel until admitting her loyalty to the devil, indeed being a witch.
In her backyard, the leader of the Western clan also starts a fire. But today, her pleadings concern the love life of a female client who finally wants to get married. Vanessa uses honey combined with the breast milk from a mother and a daughter. It is not very common for a daughter and mother to give birth at the same time. Red rose petals also find their way into the mix. Mumbling the incantation, the witch makes smacking sounds. After all, this ritual is about big love. In the morning, Romanian journalist Marian Dicon pays visits to the witches. First, he goes to the north to drop by Brațara. Then, he finds out the recent news in the west from Vanessa. He's not interested to know his future. These women with supernatural abilities are the main subjects of his articles. Several years ago, he had an idea to count them all and put it together on one website. It turned out that there were around 500,000 witches in the country. And every day, new ones appear, just like mushrooms.
This website is about 3 years old. Every month, around 40 new witches register there. There's a separate page with the list of their names.
Several years ago, the labor union of Romanian witches still had its own TV show on one of the local channels. The ratings were quite high. The whole country was getting rid of the bad charms through their TV screens. But the magical show was out of tune with the government's plan on joining the European Union, so the program was shut down. Black magic is very dangerous. Incompetent witches can even harm themselves by leaving a word out of an incantation or adding the wrong herb in a potion. But most of all, they are afraid of the Supreme Magical Court, the law of triple payback. Everything witches do can get back to them at 3 times the power, affecting their children or even their grandchildren. That's why they don't go too far in their sorcery by, say, inflicting death or serious illnesses.
There's a witch in Romania. Her name is Cereshika, who has cursed a person. He became suicidal and even tried to kill himself. Soon the same thing happened to a niece of this witch, and she got really scared. She hasn't been practicing black magic since then.
Brațara Butse puts a cauldron on the stove and starts making her potion. She adds frankincense and the main herbal ingredient. Brațara calls it witch's flower. Today is the third and last session for Anna. A week ago, this woman shaking with fear has turned to the witch for help. And Brațara couldn't say no. Medical science proved to be powerless, and witchcraft was Anna's last hope. She came to me and said that she doesn't have any money, that she's very poor. So I agreed to take her because I felt sorry for her, and I wanted to do the right thing. The witch spotted a bad charm on Anna. All her family members are at odds with each other, fighting around an inherited house. That's what made Anna's relatives put a curse on her. Fear is eating the woman from inside, and she's slowly dying. As this is pure witchcraft, no doctors are empowered to help her. Yes, the spirit of death has entered her. That's where her fear comes from.
Cum te simți de ieri și până acum? Te simți mai bine? Așa. Fii atentă că trebuie să ții curățenie, da? Așa. Șurea mai îndean. Îndepărtează duhul rău și balele urâtului și frica și spaima și lipitura.
The witch is at work, repeating the same incantation in Roma language 3 times. And every time, Brațara melts pieces of tin in a furnace. Then, holding it over the girl's head, she pours the metal into cool water with a sharp move. Hardened tin is meant to show whether Anna has any fear left in her. At first, it hardens with a small hole in it. But on the 3rd try, the spell finally works.
Doamne, ajută leac să fie. Uite acum leac, gaurile.
A cure. Look at that. No hole. All holes have been closed. Everything is clear, and you are blessed.
Spală-mă, dă farmecez, dă făcături, dă sfăte la geacă. Dă spaimă, dă sfăte. Să fii curată și luminată de toate necazurile scăpate.
This incantation is to lift all curses, to drive away all evil, all devils and demons.
N-am gustat tu?
Shall they go into a river valley, squeeze into stones and rocks, and disappear into mountains?
Unde am pus mâna, Dumnezeu să pună mila și credința.
The final step in driving away the fear is transferring it from Anna to someone else. The witch is breeding chickens in her backyard exactly for these occasions. During the ceremony, the birds indeed look scared. After the ritual, Brațara will kill them. Saving the girl's soul requires sacrifice.
Așa, și va trebui să repeți acum după mine.
Vanessa's rituals on lifting curses look rather cozy, but the words she is uttering sound similar to Brațara's whispering.
Trage răul din trupul meu, din sufletul meu, din soarta mea, din dragostea mea. Ce e pe mine băgat, să se ducă pe cap de vinovat, că eu n-am
Something
niciun
completely
păcat.
inexplicable happens during the ceremony.
Trage răul din mine, zi, din mâinile mele, închină-te, zi, iartă-mă, Doamne, zi, cu toată inima, zi și cu toată credința. A troznit sau n-a troznit? Răspunde. Zi, a troznit cheia magică.
How the
zi?
witch did it is unclear. Is there even an explanation to this trick? But the key she had thrown into a bowl bounced back. This is supposed to serve as proof of the client being cursed. It is impossible to understand how this happened, but our camera did register that.
Această păpușă va trebui să... Din mâinile mele, închină-te! Zi, iartă-mă, Doamne, zi!
Vanessa believes herself to be a descendant of the great Count Dracula. She says that all witches are related to him, and that's where their powers come from. All of us, all of those who practice magic, who use help of spirits, are Dracula's descendants. You can refuse to believe it, you can even deny it, but we will still remain heirs of Count Dracula. It all seems to be part of a marketing strategy, if you can apply this term to witchcraft even. The most important place of worship for witches of Romania is the grave of Vlad the Impaler. It is only located 30 kilometers away from Bucharest. Over there, behind the mist, on the Snagnov Island.
Dracula! A monk from this monastery, who is also its abbot, used to ferry tourists to the island. But now, there's a bridge here. The island is still inhabited only by this monk. He is somewhat of a guardian of Dracula's grave.
The abbot, an Orthodox Christian that he is, doesn't believe in vampires and witches. The grave he is guarding is not the one of Dracula from the novel of Bram Stoker, but rather the one of a historical character, the Romanian Vivovod Vlad Dracula named the Impaler after his favorite type of execution. For local monks, Dracula is not a vampire. First and foremost, he is the true son of his motherland, who was able to protect Romania from several incursions of Muslim Turks.
Archaeologists have opened up the grave, but didn't find anything in this vault except for some horse bones in a much deeper layer. So it turns out that Dracula wasn't buried here. Who knows, maybe he didn't even die.
If he didn't die, does this mean that he's still alive? Tourists come to Romania mostly to see Count Dracula's castle and visit a real Roma witch. Having that in mind, the tour guide Constantin Pelin has stocked his car with all the paraphernalia just in case.
I have various anti-vampire tools. Garlic, for example. You probably know they cannot stand the smell of garlic. I have a whole arsenal here. See, even as aspen stake. I will show you later how to use it. I can put it into a vampire without using a hammer and a lot of other stuff. Just last week, a curious thing happened to me, so it's still covered in blood.
After all, if you try to explain the truth about the historical character Count Vlad Dracula, tourists wouldn't believe you.
I'm trying to make tourists understand that Dracula was a military commander and a prince, that he is a national hero. But hey, maybe this is just a clever con game and I'm luring them into the castle of my distant relative, Uncle Dracula.
That's why the entire country isn't trying to debunk the vampire myth. And villagers still believe in supernatural powers and protect their homes from evil spirits.
Old villagers have told me stories about running into witches who were milking their cows. It means that witches were transferring rich yields of milk from villagers' cows to their own. Sometimes farmers startle a witch. Running away, she might drop a piece of gauze that she has used to filter milk. Then you have to take an axe and drive it into the gauze. If you see drops of blood appear, it means that she is indeed a witch.
Several lines of defense are enough to keep witches and vampires from coming into your home. The first one of them is on the outer walls. All evil spirits are afraid of the sunrise, so gates were often engraved with images of the sun, a rooster, or a horse dragging a cart with the sun in it.
The house was protected with a triple barrier. Dark creatures were scared off with this convoluted braid encircling the house. This piece of braiding also continues over the front doors. Close to it, you can see a wolf's tooth, and the last thing here is this Christian symbol, a crucifix over the entrance.
Old villagers say that witches, indeed, couldn't enter these protected yards, as if something wouldn't let them, let alone set foot in the house. They were instantly feeling sick and weakened.
A cattle barn was protected with a spike-toothed harrow like this one. According to local beliefs, it is supposed to repel evil spirits from the cattle. Animals were considered to be more vulnerable than people. Also notice that there are familiar symbols around the entrance. Here they are, a braided rope, a wolf's tooth. The tree of life and a cross were also essential elements of protection.
The greatest witch of Romania, Brațara Buțe, lives in the north of the capital, in a quiet residential district. Her two houses are taller and richer than the rest here. But locals are not afraid of the Black Witch living in their neighborhood. She promised that everything here will be in order for as long as she is here.
Se frică de ea? Suflet din suflet să tragă, să rămâi curată și apărată și luminată. Dă frică, dă spaimă, dă toate făcătuile scăpată. Doamne ajută, leac să fii.
Rațara Buțe will soon turn 70. Her nieces and her granddaughters, the next generation of witches, unlike Brațara, speak fluent English, which allows them to work with foreigners. They have surpassed their teacher.
Înțelegi? Așa, zi, Doamne ajută. Că tu n-ai de unde să aduci păsări.
But as soon as the old witch starts talking, the young ones go in respectful silence. Even relatives are afraid of her witchcraft.
Ca să o îngropăm la hotar de pădure, da?
At the end of the session, Brațara asks Anna to keep wearing her cross necklace. The woman will feel better even this evening. And in the morning, the fear will relax its hold completely on her. But if she becomes anxious again, the witch will come to her aid. After reading the most powerful incantation, she will cut a pigeon in front of Anna, and the girl will have to swallow its heart. This ritual will protect her own heart from being disturbed ever again. Brațara has also put a special charm on Anna to protect her from the jealousy of her relatives. I will not get into settling the score with these people who wished this girl ill and cursed her, because they are her family. I know them to be her family. I don't wish people ill, so I always redirect curses at rivers and stones, simply sending them away. Somber castles, dark narrow streets, mysterious hamlets. The atmosphere of the Middle Ages seems to never left Romania. Witches keep practicing charms, casting spells, and brewing potions from toads and mandrake. The only difference really is that they no longer come to their Sabbath riding a broomstick. Instead, they drive SUVs. You can make jokes about their voodoo rituals and their belief in supernatural powers. Only in Romania, it's not wise to do that out loud. Witches never forgive that.